What is going on, guys? My name is 4G. So today I wanted to make a video talking about the Fortnite Chapter 1 map, because this map in particular is by far my favorite map out of every single one of the maps that they've ever released, and it's why for the longest time I was making a bunch of videos basically begging for the Chapter 1 map to return.
I ain't here for the money, I ain't here for the fame.
What's going on, guys? My name is 4G. So today I'm going to be talking about the OG map possibly returning into Fortnite.
So in this video I'm going to be talking about the original Fortnite map, specifically the Fortnite Chapter 1 map.
So what am I talking about when I say this? Well, first of all, I'm talking about the Season 2 map. That's when I say OG, the one with tilted towers and everything, but it wouldn't have all this new stuff.
Will old Fortnite maps ever return? Chapters in Fortnite are now pretty short, with only being a year. It kind of makes me fear.
In this video, I'm going to be talking about the possibility of Fortnite Chapter 1 Season 11 being a thing, but I do think that the unvaulted playlist is just the beginning of what we could see for a classic mode in Fortnite.
And of course, we've seen it multiple times, and now we permanently have it in the game again. At first, we had it with Season OG, which was an absolutely amazing time. That was such a great experience to be able to finally play on that map again after years and years of just missing it, honestly. And the only way you could play it before was on like a private server, and that just, it's never really the same, you know? It just kind of feels like a lonely ghost town when you play it like that. I mean, okay, I think there's ways you could play with actual players on that, but at the end of the day, it's just not the same thing as when you're playing on the actual version of the game. So I'm very glad that they did that with Season OG. It was a great time, and now we have it permanently, and I think that that is probably the best decision they've ever made, because like I've said in previous videos, it allows them to progress with Chapter 6, Chapter 7, etc., you know, as they want. They can do what they want with that Battle Royale while also keeping the classic feeling of Fortnite alive by allowing us to just play the OG seasons. I think it's a fantastic experience. I think it's a great idea. I never thought that they would actually make it permanent in the way that they're doing it here. I thought if anything, it would have just been, I don't know, it cycles randomly to a different season every week or something, or every month. I don't exactly know, but I didn't think we'd actually be going through the seasons yet again. But anyways, going back to the title of this video, why is the Chapter 1 map absolutely the best Fortnite map that they've ever made? Because if you really think about it, it shouldn't be. This map should not be the best map they've ever made. At the end of the day, this map was made incredibly fast off of some basic save the world assets, which, by the way, that's the big reason right there. It was made with save the world assets. Now, why is that a good thing? That sounds like it would be a negative thing because they're putting less effort into it, but it didn't really feel that way. It didn't feel like less effort. It just felt like this is what Fortnite's Battle Royale would be like if Fortnite had a Battle Royale, you know, back when save the world was the only game mode in the game. Whereas if you compare any other chapter of Fortnite, it just doesn't really feel like this is what Fortnite would be like if it had a Battle Royale mode. If you're looking back in 2017 before they even released that Battle Royale mode, it just doesn't really fit, in my opinion. Now, I think they did need to change it for just keeping the game fresh, keeping it alive, and clearly it's worked. The game is still very popular many years later, but I'm just saying, for me personally, that map being made with save the world assets really did make it just a far better experience, because save the world is an apocalyptic based game. It's a game that is supposed to be, you're going through it and it's what the world used to be, pretty much. The world was lived in. They had restaurants, parks, why can't I think of anything else, cities, industrial zones, you know, even if we're just going through all the categories of different things you could see in the game, it really did feel like you were going through a world that had actual people living here at one point. That is something that is, in my opinion, very important for games like this. Even if it's just a Battle Royale, you got to have the illusion that it was once lived in. And that same thing, that same feeling from Save the World transferred over to Battle Royale because it was made with those Save the World assets. I think it makes for a far better experience. It just had the same art style, the same feeling. It had that same mysterious feeling that Save the World kind of had, but I mean, even more so, because of course your characters wouldn't talk and we didn't really know why the characters were there. Of course, the meteorite, for an example, in the sky in Season 3, that's kind of when the story really started, and of course that meteor had the visitor in it, and it just made for a far better experience. Now sure, there's a lot of nostalgia here, but I just feel like not only is it because it was made with save the world assets, it has that lived in experience, which it really does, because it has that apocalyptic feeling, and it just feels high quality, just in a different way than the current Battle Royale feels. The current Battle Royale feels high quality, but the entire map and everything about it just feels too clean. I think it looks amazing for a map in general, but if I'm looking to play a game of Fortnite, it's definitely going to be the OG mode overall, or even Reload, because Reload has that same similar feeling because it was made with those save the world assets, those original assets. I'm sure they could have done something where they touched them up a bit, made them a little bit higher quality without completely changing the art style like they did with Chapter 2 and onward. I don't know why they completely changed. I mean, I do know. I just said why they changed up the art styles to keep things fresh, but I don't know. I just don't think that that was entirely necessary. But you know what? I'm not complaining about it because, of course, we are back. We do have it again in Reload and OG now, so I have no problem with what they do now with the current Battle Royale. But going forward with the quality of the map, even though it was just made with Save the World assets, it really did feel like the developers truly cared, but again, in a different way than they do nowadays. It felt like they really wanted to make something out of passion, whereas now it's kind of felt like they make a new chapter every single year, and yeah, there's still some passion there, but we've kind of gone through this a bunch of times already, whereas before it was like the first time they've ever done it. I don't know, it's just a completely different experience. There's something about that original map. Yes, there's nostalgia, there is, but I still feel that same feeling when I play on it today. It doesn't feel 100% the same. Of course, that nostalgic feeling is totally unique. It's never going to come back, unfortunately. That's just how it is. But you know what? The whole idea of this is we can make brand new memories and one day look back on them once again when it comes to this particular season, bringing back season 2, 3, and onward. The map itself also was entirely unique. The giant mountains of this map are something that are not really found on any other map. Yes, sure, they have some mountains in some of the other chapter maps, but they're never really the exact same. These ones, you had to build up to them for the most part. Not every single one of them, of course, but the majority of them you had to build up to, and they were incredibly high up, which is why they had to add zip lines to zero build when you're playing in the OG mode, because it just would not work without some sort of zip line. You would never be able to reach those mountaintops at all. But that makes for some pretty unique experiences for sure. And honestly, I miss seeing that with competitive Fortnite as well. I remember in season 9, for an example, I believe it was season 9, when shadow bombs came out, people would just drop them and you could like climb the mountain. It was like an item that could finally climb these mountains without needing to build. It just made for a really interesting experience that no other map really provides. But I think the biggest factor when it comes to this is the constant map changes while also being a 2-year map. What I mean by that is the chapter had 10 full seasons. No other chapter has ever had that many seasons, and even the one that was actually technically longer, chapter 2, even though it only had 8 seasons, it was technically longer than chapter 1 in terms of how many days, because season 1 and 2 of chapter 2 were just delayed a million times and they were way too long. Even if it did have those extra 2 seasons in chapter 2, there was nowhere near the amount of map changes in chapter 2 that there was in chapter 1, and those map changes really ingrains in my brain, if that makes sense. There's a memory there that really makes me appreciate the map more, because anytime there was an event that could possibly destroy a part of the map, you actually cared about the POIs that were on that map. I can't really say the same about the recent days, and I think it's a combination of the fact that I just don't really care for the map in general, but then also on top of that, I don't really care because the map is going to be gone in 4 seasons total anyways. Like, we already know that chapter 7 is going to come out in December, chapter 8 in December of next year. You know, it's just going to keep going. There's not really a long time to truly enjoy these maps, and I'm not saying they shouldn't do that, by the way, because I think that as Fortnite gets older and older as a game, I think you need to pump out the content. Otherwise, I think the game will die out. But for that time, for the time of chapter 1, the way that they were doing it worked, and I think it was a great time. I even remember in season 10 when they were bringing back things like Greasy Grove. Like, we were sad that Greasy Grove has been out of the game for what felt like so long at the time, but in reality, it was only a couple seasons. Like, when you look back on that now, it was 7 years ago almost, or 6 years ago, or I don't know exactly remember. It was 2019 when they brought Greasy Grove back with Taco Time, which was, oh my god.
I got one shot.
King Taco Time!
What a tease, man. Bringing back one of the best POIs in the game just to ruin it with Taco Time. The point was every POI really mattered. One more thing I wanted to add in here is things like the Battle Pass system and even the challenge system itself would complement this map more so than other chapters going forward. For an example, the skins of Chapter 1 Season 2's original Battle Pass, the Fortnite skins, they actually had their own home that were based off of the different POIs on the original Fortnite map. What I mean by that is if you actually look at the description of these skins, for an example, the Black Knight, the description would be the odious scourge of Wailing Woods. So that's just one of them. The Blue Squire was Moisty Mire, the Royal Knight Tomato Town, and the Red Knight I believe was Anarchy Acres. So each of these different skins had their own unique home, and that right there supports what I've been saying in this entire video, where this map actually felt a lot more lived in than the current maps do. And then looking over at the challenge system was a lot more fun. First of all, for example, the Chapter 1 Season 3 Battle Pass, the very first weekly we ever had, there was a map when you went over to Dusty Depot, and you would follow that map and you would be able to go and grab a battle star, and that would complete the challenge. That right there, first of all, it's stuck in my brain and it will never leave because, well, that was the very first weekly challenge system that we've ever gotten. So they definitely put in their effort to make it interesting and fun, and I wish that they would do things like that nowadays. I don't know, something about the original checklist system. I'm gonna make a whole video talking about how I would love to see the original Battle Pass challenges added back to the OG mode, because I would love to just complete those challenges again just for the fun of it, if I'm being completely real. Those challenges were actually fun. Nowadays, they're just not. They're just boring string, like thrown together. They're just not the same as they used to be. But anyways, we'll go over that in a different video. But this also complemented the map, not just because the actual challenges were fun, but also the fact that in later seasons of Chapter 1, they actually gave us loading screens for completing weekly challenges, and these would actually progress the storyline. For an example, in Chapter 1 Season 5, you would actually see the cube as it was moving around the map. Each week when they dropped a new loading screen, you would see the cube in the different locations that it was during that particular time. And it was, first of all, not only cool to get a loading screen of that so you could have that forever, it was just a really cool time to have that, but also in that loading screen, you would get hidden battle stars that you could go to that particular part of the map and go get a free tier of the battle pass. And it's just all of these things added up. It keeps it a lot more interesting. Even going forward to a loading screen in Chapter 1 Season 6 where the Giddy Up skin was surrounded by a bunch of the tier 100 dire skins. I remember this loading screen very distinctly. He was just in Wailing Woods looking at fireflies, which is kind of interesting because fireflies weren't actually added to the game until Chapter 2. This took place in Wailing Woods and really just emphasized that there was stuff going on this map beyond just fighting for the victory royale. And it just doesn't feel that way as much nowadays. Now, a little bit. It does a little bit, but just not to the extent of Chapter 1. The art style was amazing. It felt lived in. Yeah, that's really how I would sum it up. There's something so fantastic about that map, something magical that no other map really has. In my opinion, I don't think Chapter 2, like a lot of people might say Chapter 2 has that. I would disagree personally. I just don't think that anything will ever compete with Chapter 1 again. It was just a different time, and you can't really recapture that magic again. That was like a one-time experience, and that will forever keep the Chapter 1 map as an S-tier map forever when it comes to Fortnite maps. I think the only thing that comes close are the reload maps, because those are based off the Chapter 1 map. That's really all I can think of. Honestly, I like the Chapter 4 map a lot. I think that's A-tier, honestly, but we're not going into map tiers. But the point is, Chapter 1 was a fantastic time. I'm so glad that we can replay it as we're going through these seasons again. It's very nostalgic, but not only that, it's just incredibly fun to be able to use these weapons, and I just love how the pump is actually strong again. I cannot stand how the pump had been destroyed more and more over time, to the point where, like, the fact that the entirety of Chapter 1, as far as I'm aware, the blue pump and up will one pump you. That didn't happen, and starting in Chapter 2, they started completely destroying the pump, where the blue one wouldn't one pump anymore. Eventually, it got to a point where you have to have a gold pump. That's the only one that one pumps nowadays. I know some people would disagree with that, but I don't. I think it's incredibly fun, and it just feels so satisfying. And at the end of the day, it's a video game. You know, it's a video game. We're all here to just have some fun, okay? But anyways, that is going to wrap up this video. If you guys enjoyed it, like, it'd be greatly appreciated. If you're new here and you like videos like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day.